relations between Russia and Iran. We support Iran, including the interests with respect to peaceful uses of the atomic energy. And this has always been our position. This is our principled position, including in this conflict. It has never changed. Those who promote such narrative about Russia not being a reliable ally are provocateurs. They provoke the situation, and this won't help them. They won't reach their goals.
Let me start with a simple question. When 5 heavy Russian military transport aircraft land in Tehran in less than 48 hours, right as a U.S. aircraft carrier slides into strike position, right as President Trump publicly threatens overwhelming military action, do you really think that's a coincidence? Because history says no, logistics says no, and common sense definitely says no. Something serious is unfolding, and it's happening quietly, above our heads, while most people are distracted by headlines that barely scratch the surface. Here's what we know, and more importantly, why it matters. In the first days of January 2026, flight tracking data began lighting up with something unusual. Russian Il-76 heavy military transport aircraft, not one, not two, but at least 5, landing in Tehran. These are not passenger planes. They're not humanitarian flights. They're not delivering spare parts for tractors. The Il-76 is built for one thing: moving war-changing equipment fast. We're talking about aircraft that can carry main battle tanks, long-range air defense systems, mobile radar arrays, and massive munitions loads in a single sortie. One flight alone can haul over 40 to 50 tons. Multiply that by 5, and suddenly you're staring at up to 250,000 kilograms of military hardware landing inside Iran in 2 days. That's not routine cooperation, that's emergency reinforcement. And here's the part that should make you sit up straight. Sustaining 5 heavy lift sorties in that time frame requires intense coordination. Air crews on standby, secure overflight permissions, protected ground handling, lockdown unloading zones, intelligence screening, counter surveillance. This isn't improvised. This is pre-planned for crisis. Video clips posted online sealed it. Locals filmed Il-76 aircraft landing again and again. Same planes, same routes, same timing, and Russia, dead silent. No press release, no explanations, no cargo manifests. Because when governments stop talking, it's usually because the cargo talks for them. On January 9th, Air Cargo Week stepped into the gap left by official silence. Their reporting confirmed that multiple Il-76TD aircraft flew between southern Russia and Tehran from December 27th through January 1st. But look at the routing. And this is crucial. The flights deliberately avoided NATO-controlled airspace, cutting through the Caucasus instead. That's not about fuel efficiency. That's about reducing exposure. Fewer eyes, fewer radar tracks, less intelligence sharing. Air Cargo Week didn't mince words. They noted the compressed timing, repeated use of the same aircraft, and identical routing patterns, all classic indicators of deliberate military tasking, not commercial charters. In plain English, this was a military airlift, not a business trip. And then the rumors started circulating: weapons in, gold out. At first, it sounded like speculation, until it wasn't. On January 5th, inside the UK Parliament, Conservative MP Tom Tugendhat, a former security minister, not a conspiracy blogger, stood up and said it plainly. Members of parliament were observing Russian cargo aircraft landing in Tehran, presumably carrying weapons and ammunition, while simultaneously hearing reports of large quantities of gold leaving Iran. Then came the question that froze the room. Is the Iranian regime preparing for life after collapse? Because that's what this looks like. And here's where the picture gets truly unsettling. Russia appears to be doing 2 things at once. On one hand, it's rushing weapons into Iran, air defenses, aircraft, helicopters, to help the regime survive what's coming. On the other hand, it's quietly extracting value, gold, assets, contingency evacuation pathways, just in case the regime doesn't. That's not loyalty, that's insurance. Moscow isn't betting on Iran's victory, it's betting on not losing either way. Zoom out for a second, because the domestic situation inside Iran explains the urgency. Late December saw a fresh wave of demonstrations triggered by currency collapse and rising prices. Reuters reported protests spreading from Tehran's bazaars into multiple cities, followed by a government's don't shut down the internet because things are going well. They shut it down when they're afraid. And right as the streets heat up, Russia's air bridge goes active. That timing matters. But the airlift is only half the story, because while planes were landing, hackers were digging. On November 28, 2025, hacker group United 24 dropped a bombshell. Leaked Russian military correspondence revealing that Su-35 fighter jet production for Iran is already underway. Not planned, not negotiated, already happening. The documents referenced production orders at the Yuri Gagarin Komsomolsk-on-Amur aviation plant, complete with component delivery schedules and payment records stretching from March 2024 to September 2025. This wasn't theory, this was paperwork. Even more revealing was the export contract identifier, R1936411411768, listing the foreign customer under code K10. In at least one leaked letter, K10 is explicitly named Iran, and the payments already made. March 7, 2024, July 22, 2024, December 26, 2024, fully financed, 16 jets locked in for delivery by 2027, except intelligence analysts noticed something odd. The documents didn't stop at 16. They pointed to 48 Su-35s, delivered in phased batches from 2026 to 2028, with a total deal value exceeding $6 billion. That changes the math completely. Let's talk about what that means, without the brochure language. The Su-35 isn't just a newer plane, it's a different generation. Twin engine, Mach 2 plus speed, high altitude performance near 20,000 meters, advanced digital flight controls, high G maneuvering, post-stall tricks that make dogfights unfair. Its radar can detect large targets up to 400 kilometers away, track around 30 targets, and engage several at once. With a combat radius over 2,000 kilometers and long-range missiles pushing similar distances, Iran suddenly gains eyes and reach across regions it previously struggled to monitor. Compare that to what Iran flies today. Aging F-14 Tomcats from before the 1979 revolution. Old F-4 Phantoms, worn-down MiG-29s. Jumping from that to 48 Su-35s is like trading a rotary phone for a satellite network. Two modern squadrons alone could complicate Israeli strike planning, challenge Gulf air superiority, and extend Iran's defensive umbrella far beyond its borders. That's why satellite imagery showing infrastructure expansion at Isfahan Air Base raised eyebrows. Analysts believe it's being prepared as the first operational hub for the incoming fleet. And yes, the deal reportedly includes local assembly in Iran, technology transfer, long-term capability. But fighters don't matter much if they can't take off safely. Which brings us to the air defenses. According to Russian sources, at least one division of the S-400 system has already been delivered and deployed near Isfahan. Tests reportedly included intercept trials against Israeli UAVs. If confirmed, that's a major milestone. The S-400 isn't defensive window dressing. It's built to hunt aircraft, cruise missiles, drones, and even ballistic threats, up to 400 kilometers away, at altitudes reaching 30 kilometers. This system is designed with one nightmare scenario in mind: American cruise missiles and Israeli precision strikes. And it doesn't stop there. Russian sources also report Chinese military transport aircraft landing in Tehran, delivering HQ-9 and HQ-22 surface-to-air missile systems. Russia plus China. Layered defenses, overlapping coverage. When integrated, this creates a dense air defense bubble over key Iranian installations and the Persian Gulf corridor, a network that would force U.S. and Israeli planners to slow down, reroute, and reconsider assumptions. That doesn't mean strikes become impossible. It means they become costly, and cost changes decisions. But just as analysts were still digesting that shift, something else quietly happened. More planes. At least 4 additional Il-76 military transport aircraft linked to Belarus landed in Tehran over the past 48 hours. According to open-source air traffic monitors, these flights originated from Belarus, made technical stops, and continued into Iran, carrying military cargo of Russian and Chinese origin tied to what's being politely called military technical cooperation between Moscow, Beijing, and Tehran. Let's be clear, Il-76 aircraft don't carry goodwill gestures. They carry heavy equipment, ammunition, missile components, radar arrays, and surveillance systems. And the pattern here matters. This isn't a slow drip. This is a surge. Open source analysts note that this density of heavy lift sorties inside such a narrow time window aligns with crisis-driven logistics, not routine resupply. It's what you do when you believe something big is coming, and soon. Here's where things get clever and concerning. The involvement of Belarusian-registered aircraft introduces a layer of operational deniability. It allows Moscow to disperse political risk across allied registries while still maintaining control over mission planning and payload selection. Think of it like using a friend's car to run errands you don't want traced directly back to your driveway. Same driver, different license plate. Several intelligence claims, widely circulated now, suggest these Belarusian IL-76 are unloading Russian and Chinese weapons, crowd control gear, surveillance tools, and internal security systems. Not just battlefield hardware, regime protection hardware. If those aircraft were operating near maximum payload, the total delivered volume across recent flights could approach 250 tons, enough to materially alter Iran's internal security balance, especially if concentrated on electronic warfare, mass surveillance, mobile radar, and air defense components. This isn't just about defending borders, it's about controlling cities. Meanwhile, Iran's air defense rebuild is accelerating at a pace that's hard to ignore. Iran is rapidly acquiring advanced Chinese systems, including HQ-9B and HQ-22 batteries, in direct response to damage sustained during the 12-day Israel-Iran conflict that degraded its strategic air defenses. And here's the key detail: Iran isn't paying in cash, it's paying in oil. China already absorbs nearly 90% of Iran's crude exports, and these oil for arms barter arrangements deepen a relationship that's now both economic and military. The HQ-9B, modeled after Russia's S-300, has reported engagement ranges up to 250 kilometers, with altitude coverage reaching 45 to 50 kilometers. But Beijing didn't just ship off-the-shelf systems. China reportedly supplied variants designed for interoperability with Iran's existing Russian platforms, creating a layered, cohesive air defense grid rather than a patchwork of incompatible parts. That's not accidental. That's planning. By 2025, the geopolitical calculus shifted sharply. Iran grew frustrated with Russian delays on certain systems and technologies, and Beijing stepped in fast, flexible, and transactional. China didn't lecture, it delivered. The result? Iran now fields a surface-to-air missile architecture capable of engaging aircraft, cruise missiles, drones, and even tactical ballistic missiles at ranges exceeding 250 kilometers. Which brings us back to the uncomfortable truth. Russia isn't just helping Iran modernize. Russia is racing to move heavy weapons into Iran before anticipated US or Israeli strikes. And the air traffic data proves it. Since January 1st, 2026, at least 5 Russian IL-76 heavy transports landed in Tehran. At least 4 Belarusian IL-76 followed in the last 48 hours. Routes deliberately bypassed NATO airspace via the Caucasus Payload Estimates approach, 250 tons per sortie window. Air Cargo Week confirmed these flights between late December and early January, noting compressed timing, identical routing, and repeated aircraft usage, classic signs of deliberate military tasking, not commerce, not coincidence. And the political signals are lining up with the logistics. UK MP Tom Tugendhat told Parliament Russian aircraft were landing in Tehran carrying weapons, while reports indicated gold was leaving the country. Weapons in, assets out. That's hedging. Moscow is arming the regime to survive protests, while simultaneously preparing for the possibility that it won't. It's betting both sides of the table. Then there's the air power question. Leaked documents confirm 16 Su-35 fighters already in production for Iran, with payments completed in 2024 and deliveries scheduled through 2027. But the full program? 48 aircraft, valued at over $6 billion. The Su-35's capabilities are no mystery anymore. 400-kilometer radar detection, long-range missiles, 2,000-kilometer combat radius. 2 full squadrons that finally retire Iran's aging F-14s from the Shah era. Satellite imagery shows infrastructure expansion at Isfahan Air Base, with Russian advisors reportedly already on the ground. And yes, at least one S-400 system has been delivered and tested against Israeli drones. Add Chinese HQ series systems and Iranian domestic defenses, and you're looking at a layered protective bubble that forces a complete recalculation of Israeli and American strike planning. Stealth helps, but stealth isn't magic. Now let's talk about Washington. President Trump has threatened overwhelming military action, but every day these deliveries continue, the price of that action rises. Every air defense battery means more aircraft dedicated to suppression missions. Every Su-35 forces American stealth jets into air-to-air roles instead of strike roles. Every Mi-28 gives Iran mobile firepower that thrives in complex terrain. Iran is no longer the brittle target many planners assumed. It's becoming a hardened, networked, regionally backed military power, with Russian aerospace technology and Chinese air defense systems layered on top. This is not the Iran of 10 years ago, and that's creating a dilemma. The United States is positioning force at a scale that suggests readiness, not posturing. USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group within range F-15 Strike Eagles deployed to Jordan strategic bombers staged at Diego Garcia, non-essential personnel evacuated from Al Udeid Air Base. Gulf states warning against escalation. Russia and China condemning intervention at the UN markets are nervous. Oil prices are creeping upward. Everyone understands the risk. A closure of the Strait of Hormuz could push oil past $200 a barrel, triggering a global recession that no one, not Washington, not Beijing, not Moscow, truly wants. And yet, the military indicators point to days, not weeks. So, where does this end? That depends on decisions made in Washington, Tehran, Moscow, and Jerusalem, and possibly faster than anyone would like. This could resolve into a tense standoff with force used as deterrence, or it could spiral into the largest Middle East military operation since 2003. One thing is undeniable. The balance of power is shifting in real time. Russia and China are reshaping Iran's military profile, while American carrier groups steam forward. History rarely gives this many warning signs at once. The next 72 hours may define whether 2026 becomes a year of catastrophic regional war, or a moment where the world stepped back from the edge. And that's why this matters to everyone. If you've watched this far, I want to hear from you. Do you think this ends in strikes or restraint? Is this deterrence or the prelude to war? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Support this work by liking the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next, because this story is still unfolding and we're tracking it in real time. The world is holding its breath, and now, so are we.